Hello YouTube, welcome to my next build, which is going to be this Airfix BOFORS 40mm gun and tractor. I mentioned last time that this would be in my next build. And I've never done a 1:76 before, so I'm kind of looking forward to it. I did go out on ScaleMates and print out the instructions and then wrote down the paints. Have the paints here. I'll talk about that in a minute. Looks pretty straightforward. Again, 1:76, kind of small, but I'm used to doing 1:72 plain, so not something completely out of the ordinary. Humbrol colors. So I did a conversion. I had a hard time figuring out what 121 was, but it is sand, converts to XF57 buff in Tamiya, and then the 93 is the desert yellow, which converts to XF59 desert yellow in Tamiya. And then the 72 is khaki, and so I have the khaki in Vallejo. Decals, and those are all laid out on the instructions, and those look to be in pretty good shape. So 3 sprues, no clear, I don't believe, no clear parts, bit of flash here and there, but not too bad. Nice detail on the figures, but again, flash. This gun barrel looks pretty good. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this out of the box. I looked, I have a couple of pieces of wood. I might do a base. I have some pigments. Maybe, you know, this is maybe the right scale that I could get away with something small and make my first kind of diorama attempt. So that's the kit, and I'm going to start cutting everything out, cleaning everything up. So started on that first page and the parts there, and then pulled those together into the chassis. Then followed up the next steps and did the cab, cleaned up the driver, and then the rear of the truck and stowage. And then the rest of the parts there, cleaned up all those tires and wheels, built out the roof, and then started on the base of the gun. And apparently these are like jacks, and they, you know, you crank them up and it lifts it off the wheels. You can see here on the cover art, I'm kind of using as my reference. So it's in all 4 corners, so to speak, and it lifts it off. But just sitting flat there, now I just have those wheels on with sticky tack. You can see it doesn't reach, so I'm going to have to, you know, put some rod down there. I went and grabbed my rigid wires, and actually I think this thickest one will work, so I will cut some of that. I'm going to leave some of this gun unassembled to paint, and then so there's a test fit, kind of letting gravity help me here. But yeah, wow, yeah, nice fit. So cut that wire, do that, and then start painting. And I drilled out the gun barrel. So after primer, put down the first color, which was that desert yellow, then came back, got the figures ready for the khaki after shooting the roof with the sand. And after painting the tires black, put the wheels on the truck and the base. Alright, so here's the problem. Those axles spin and lower the entire base down on the wheels, and then those stands kick in. I knew it was engineered too well to have an issue like that, so I'll just live with it. Then used a lighter to heat up those posts and stick them into the pads, and then put those pads into the base. And the kit doesn't provide it, but I really wanted to try to make these sights, so I went to the spare PE and found these hose reels as well as these ladders, and I think I can fashion those into what I need. So there we go, and yeah, I have to say I'm pretty happy with the way those came out. So that completes the sub-assemblies and the first round of painting, and now I'll go back and do all the detail painting. All right, progress update. So all these detail colors here, did the figures, did their faces and hands in the flesh tone, their boots in the brown, those binoculars in the black, and then the bronze on the shells there, if you can see, in the gun, as well as in this guy's arms. And then there it is, and then shot those with the desert yellow. So you can see here the shield. You know, there's this shield that goes and covers each side, but it's not on the box art. So I'm going to go up and check my references. I already painted over the mating surface there in anticipation that I'm probably going to leave it off. And now I've coated everything in the satin, letting that set up, and then I'll come back with some wash and maybe some panel line accent. And then the other thing, so this, like I said, will probably be my first diorama. I went ahead and cut some sheet styrene stock, basically to, you know, surround this, make a wall. So then I went out on Amazon, found these worm tree sets. So this is a set of 3 large, medium, and small, like sand pebbles. And then I had this, you know, some stones, and I was actually experimenting. So kind of put, you know, those 2 stones on there, maybe do something like that. And then basically recreate that box art, have the gun and the truck. And then, you know, fill the rest with sand. And then I have for the equipment, I have these pigments and this pigment fixer. I've never done that before, so maybe experiment with that. And then I got these little tufts of grass, and I think even that might be too big. I might even split those, but then maybe go with a tuft of grass on either side of that stone, because, you know, there are mountains in the background, and there is little tufts of grass here and there. So basically just, you know, recreate that. So my first diorama, you know, just kind of have fun with it and try some stuff out. So there's the gun fully assembled, and put some panel line wash on there, and yeah, I'm super happy with the way those sights came out. That looks so cool. Put those hand cranks on there, and I did not cut those figures to move their hands in the right place, so I had to actually trim those cranks and just kind of forced them in there to touch their hands. So now it's a matter of pulling everything together into the base and weathering, and then the final product. Reliable, efficient, and available at the outbreak of the war when Britain needed it most, the 40mm Bofors gun was without doubt one of the most outstanding anti-aircraft guns of the period. It was employed by both sides in the Second World War, and versions continue to be used today in many parts of the world. Designed in 1930 by the Swedish Bofors Company, the gun was adopted by some 18 countries and became the standard anti-aircraft weapon with the British forces. It has an average rate of fire of 60 to 90 rounds per minute, a traverse of 350 degrees, and an elevation capability from -5 degrees to 90 degrees. For action, the gun was normally lowered onto its carriage, but could be fired while supported on its wheels. 4-round clips of ammunition were fed into the breech by a loader, while 2 layers rotated the cranked control arms. Towing vehicle for the Bofors was a Morris CDW 30-weight 6x4 tractor. This was fitted with lockers accommodating 192 rounds of ammunition, a compartment for the gun crew of 5 men, and a spare wheel for the gun. The engine was a Morris 6-cylinder petrol unit, and gears comprised 5 forward and 1 reverse. Overall length was 17 feet 2.5 inches. The markings provided are for a Bofors gun and tractor of No. 1 Battery 8 Troop 15th Light Anti-Aircraft Regiment, attached to the 7th Armored Division, North Africa, 1940. Okay, there it is on the armor shelf, and that was interesting. It was fun, and oh man, now that I look at it here, yeah, I don't know that rock and bush are necessarily to the proper scale, but my first attempt at a diorama,
that was a blast. I had a lot of fun. I think it came out okay. Messed up on that base, but again, I think my recovery came out okay. So for my first diorama, I'm happy with it and I enjoyed it and hope you did too. So as always, thanks for watching and happy modeling.